Intro to Networks, April 20th. This is week number 14. So we have 3 after this one, class sessions left. We talked about network security. We had a Cisco outage, so for a more detailed review, you can listen to the live broadcast, well, what was live broadcast of the day. So we talked about three major things on this slide. Threats. How vulnerable are you to the threats? Is there somebody who can carry the threat out? And then that leaves us some level of risk. So what are the threats? Somebody can view the information. Somebody can look at the data. We talked about this idea now. Everything is digital, and because we have so much access to so much data, it's the network part of the securing that data has become a rather important function. Okay? So information. There's a threat on information that people are going to get it. People can destroy data or change the data, so we have that threat. Identity theft. Somebody steals things that identify you and then use them to open other accounts, open other credit cards, get a big surgery done. And believe it or not, some people steal identity and then they use their insurance to get some surgery done. Hard to believe that would work. Another threat is disruption. This would be a denial of service where somebody doesn't allow you to use the network. Okay? Vulnerabilities, we have the technical part, which can be the software and the hardware, those being vulnerable. Like you need to update your OS, like Windows 7, I gave the example. You need to update that. How things are configured. If they're not configured correctly, they can be, somebody can access them inappropriately. What kind of security policies? These are really important. What kind of security policies do you have? Do you have good password security policies, and do you enforce them? Policies on what people can do with data. That's such a big topic in the world right now. Okay? Now, go up here. When we talk about security, we're worried about who can view the data. We're worried about the data being accurate. And yet we have to make the data available to people so they can do their jobs. Okay? And to finish up then, risk. What kind of risk would there be? Let me use another color. So as we move from threats, and we talk about, are there vulnerabilities that can create those threats? Is there somebody who can carry the threat out? And then how much do you do to mitigate the threat? That's one thing. You can mitigate the threat. You can ignore the threat, okay, or something in between is where most people lie. Or another, in combination with these other things, you can remove the threat, remove the responsibility, more or less move the responsibility to somebody else. We gave the example that chances of your house burning down are not real high, but yet you're going to protect yourself against that with insurance. Now, if the odds aren't much, why spend money on insurance? Because the repercussions are high. The same thing here. There might be very little chance that some data could be stolen, but if that data is stolen, there could be large repercussions for the business. They had to do that in healthcare. People's health records had to be available. Okay, of course you want them accurate, and you have to decide who gets to see them. And if these people were distributing that information, well, then that was bad. Okay, so what the government did is they came in and they said, well, we have HIPAA, where we have laws that say you cannot distribute that health information about somebody. I beat this to death. Physical security, is the hardware kept in a secure place and environment. That means, where the equipment's kept, and then other things you can't control, tornadoes, hurricanes, different types of that. How you supply electricity to the devices. Do you have uninterrupted power supplies and these other things? And then maintenance. Do you manage maintenance well? Do you do good cabling? Do you keep machines updated? Like cleaning, cleaning them out so the fans don't quit or the fans don't get full of dust and quit, and then the equipment overheats, and et cetera, et cetera. Okay? I talked about some issues with a switch, configuring some stuff on a switch that causes us to not be able to access it anymore. Now, we talked a little bit about malware, and we mentioned viruses, worms, Trojan horse, different ways or different types of malware can kind of fall in these categories. And it goes over it in the curriculum. Viruses are transported through programs or little executables, and somebody gets it, and then the virus accidentally pulls up their email and then sends it out to all their people on their email list and so forth. Worms move around by themselves. Once a worm gets into a network, it's able to move around by itself. It doesn't have to have some other means of transporting it around. And a Trojan horse is a way to get bad stuff in. You have a legitimate looking program, but inside there's some malware. We're going to talk a little more about this on Wednesday, and a lot this summer. We have data assurance class this summer. We spend the whole summer talking about security. But in the curriculum, they talk about reconnaissance. A lot of reconnaissance can be done legally, but there's a fine line. There's a fine line between what's okay and what isn't. Okay. Inside that life cycle somewhere, there's a lot of steps, and they get the step where they access the machine, and then that's another thing. Reconnaissance, people getting illegal access. If you want to create problems for a company and you can't, you're not going to do it either of those ways, you can do a denial of service. You can cause disruption by sending a lot of traffic to a device, which then allows other people can't use the device. The lab, the first lab where you do some research and stuff on security, and they mentioned SANS. Yeah, we took a look at SANS, and I receive a regular emailing from SANS. The website can look a little complex, but once you work in it for a little while, they're a great resource for security. And there's lots of other ones too, but they're one of the top ones. Okay, that is it for today. We have a lab you're supposed to finish up today on SSH. And we set that up together in class today. Okay, well, that's it.